Today we are all going to continue with our talk we were having last week, and I'm privileged to have with me same panelists that were here last week, and have another addition to it today. So we're gonna continue from where we finished last week, and I believe we're gonna add a lot more. So welcome, Kasapa Radio. Like I always say, if health is your utmost premium, if your health is your utmost premium, then you are the right place at the right time. We can be reached if you want to make any contribution on 01952291391, 01952291391. We're also on WhatsApp page 074-389-38592. And we are live on Facebook at Kasapa Radio. Search for us, Kasapa Radio. Once you find us, share it on your Facebook as well, and invite your friends to join us as well. Welcome to another Friday edition. My name is Daniel, and today I have with me Pastor Jeremy Johnson, who is a Seventh-day Adventist pastor in Telford. I have Vongai, social worker here with Telford and Wrekin Council, and I have Dave Miller, an elder of the Seventh-day Adventist Church as well. And to let you know, they are all keen health people who have done a lot of research about health. So we are in good hands, I promise you, listeners. Welcome again, and welcome to my panelists.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you for coming again.
No worries.
And how's your week been?
It's been okay, thanks. It's been good.
Good. How's your health been? One guy you weren't here last week.
I wasn't, no.
Yes.
I'm in good health and I'm
I
happy
hope.
to be here this evening.
Good. Pastor?
All good.
Good.
All good by God's grace.
That's fine. We thank God. We thank God for that. All through last week, we were discussing about water. It was so broad that we couldn't finish, so we decided to bring it back this week by popular request as well. And I'd like to let you know that the feedback that we gain from our listeners, even after the show, is very big. And so I'd like to say thank you very much. They are really getting we really getting positive feedback as to the knowledge that they are receiving through yourselves. So thank you very much, and so may it happen. And I believe today we have come well prepared as well to give them a lot of information that either though they did not even know about. So I'd like to welcome you again. Thank you very much. So we will go straight to the point, because as we know, last week we nearly ran out of time. We had to borrow a bit of time just to finish what we're doing. So we go straight to the point today. Can you just briefly, Pastor and Dave, give us a brief feedback or a brief demonstration as to what we discussed last week, just for the benefit of our listeners that didn't have the privilege to listen to us last week? Just share a little bit of what we discussed last week.
Well, last week we spoke about the value of water, and it's a miracle really. When we looked at it, how it is, there's no colour to it, there's no taste, but it's a fabulous thing, full of minerals, and we need it, as part as we discussed, was to do with hydration. Hydration was very important, and then we looked into how we can get hydrated and how the cells receive the water into themselves, and it's through sodium, which is something that we need. So that was one of the things that we looked at last week, and we found that it was very eye-opening how water is vital to us. And I know that there was some questions online that we we tried to run away from, but yeah, it was good. It was good last week, and we spoke also about the pH levels in the waters, in the bottled water,
Right.
and also in the tap water. You know, what's the benefit of either one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very
That was
much, Pastor.
Yeah, it was a very intuitive session last week, and to reiterate what David just said, the importance and significance of water that it cannot be taken for granted. But we also looked at the various types of water that's available to us whether in the shops or in our own homes, and depending on where we live. So water is very keen in all aspects of our life.
Thank you very much. We did also touching about dehydration, and we also talked about having too much water can have an adverse effect on the body. Yes.
Yeah, that was only if your sodium levels was really low. Then you would wash out the sodium out your body, then your electrolytes would be gone basically, and then you would die. But you can't have too much water. If you do drink too much water, then your body will tell you, well, I need to go to the toilet, and then you'll just go to the toilet.
Yes,
to
you
get
just,
rid of
yes, just have sleepless nights. And,
Yeah, someone said also that if you turn your head to the side and the water comes out your ear, then you know you're drinking too much water. But if that doesn't happen, then you're okay.
Right, so if that doesn't happen, then you're okay. Right, okay. So, is there anything, judging from what a gentleman has said, considering last week, that you like to add before we come to, based on what they've just said? Do you have anything that you would have added to what they've said if you were here last week, Bongai?
No, I think it sounds as if everything was pretty much captured, and I think just to labour the point, like I'm not clearly probably someone spoke about our bodies are said to be made of 60% water essentially, and that's a really high percentage. So you can imagine the importance of it to our organs. So it's clearly an important that we drink enough water. So no.
That's good. Right, so I would like to delve straight away to dehydration, okay? Because dehydration is something that's we talked about several things that can cause dehydration: lack of water, and if it's not taken appropriately, and what the effects could be. But we didn't have time to kind of elaborate more as to what we should look out for dehydration. What do we see in our bodies that makes us think, oh, this person is dehydrated? Because I can just come and dehydrate. What are the symptoms that will show in my body that will make people think, yes, what you're saying is true? Bongai?
Well, I think there's the obvious signs that we all experience, and that's the first one would be feeling thirsty, and that's your body telling you that you need to, replenish and drink more water. Another one, which is a common one, people always say if your urine is dark in colour, that's an indication that you're dehydrated. So what you want is quite a light consistency in terms of the colour of your urine. People speak of headaches. Those are the common signs that your body would say, or warning signs that your body would show that you need to be drinking more water. But I think this week I was thinking about how about the more unusual signs that, because sometimes when you go for a long period of time not drinking enough water, your body does get used to it, to functioning on not enough water. But, there'll be certain indicators that, might be reflective, or, in your person that suggest that you're not drinking enough water. And one of the things that came up was, if you're not drinking enough water, bad breath,
yes,
as an indicator of not enough water. I think, when it's really, really chronic, it's called halitosis, I think. But we're talking about mild bad breath when you're, if you're not eating all day, your breath can become a bit unpleasant to talk to people. Another sign was for women, skin. If you're not drinking enough water, your skin's very dry. If you're interested in wrinkles, it will get quite, you're prone to, getting wrinkles earlier on in life if you're not drinking enough water.
I don't think anybody will be interested in wrinkles.
So definitely you'll be drinking. I know another sign was muscle cramps. If you're, prone to getting muscle cramps, that could be an indicator. Then another one which was interesting was sometimes, and I felt this week, I woke up in the morning, and normally I don't eat quite early in the morning, and I felt really, really hungry, like pretty much starving. And I was thinking, literally I had dinner, and I'm not, in the morning I don't eat a lot, but I had something to eat, and then within a few hours I was really thirsty. Then I realised, I was actually thirsty. And I know, there's a saying that sometimes when you feel hungry, you're actually thirsty, you're not hungry. So that could be a sign, feeling hungry, where maybe you've just had a meal, or, in a few hours ago you've had a meal and feeling hungry. That could be an indicator that you're not having enough water. Or headaches. You know, so many of us spend the day not drinking any water, and you might be feeling headachy. I know certainly if I've not had enough water, by the end of the day, I've got that tension headache. That's relieved by having water. But yeah, those were some of the unusual signs that I looked at. So bad breath, dry skin. So if you're interested in your skin, your appearance, drinking water would be a good way to start. Cramps are an indicator, or feeling hungry, or craving sugary treats as well could be an indicator that you're thirsty.
Pasta hydrated.
And yeah, that's what I was
Everyday occurrence for me. Yeah.
Yes. So based on that, what I gathered most about it is that feeling hungry as an indication of you're actually thirsty. People kind of say that then there's this therapy, water therapy thing they called water diet. Okay, drink a lot of water to stop themselves from eating as a means of losing weight. Does anybody have any idea about water diet and the good and the bad side of water diet? Because we have touched how we can't stress enough how water is good to the body, but this water, drinking a lot of water to stop you from being hungry, a good way to save the body or lose weight, or is it advisable? What is water diet in the first place, and what are the effects? What are the good side to water diet and the bad side, if anybody
Just
has
before
got any idea?
we discuss the water diet,
Yes.
we need to just clarify the difference between a water diet and a liquid diet.
Yes.
Because as we participate and intake liquids, liquids naturally pass through the body quicker. So because liquids tend to go straight through the body's metabolism, we don't take on board as much as the bodily fats that causes the weight gain.
Yeah.
So a liquid in itself, that's why many people juice all kinds of various things and drink it in liquid format. Now, because water itself is a liquid and it doesn't contain any calories as such, then the perception is drinking a lot of water, it can make you feel bloated. So it gives a sense of the body's full, so you don't want anything to actually eat. And so because you don't want any food as such, because the stomach is full of liquids, then you've actually cut down on your calorie intake.
Yeah,
In one
that's it.
sense.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's right. And it also the drinking of the water for that same reason, or to add to what Pastor said, it also eliminates the breakdown of fats from the body as well. If you can go without eating between meals, and then you just sip water in between that time, you're actually getting rid of some of the food, some of the fats that's in your body. So it's, I don't know about a liquid, a water diet. I've never really heard that much about it, but I know that water does help if you're hungry. Like one guy just said, if you're hungry, it's just your body craving for water, really.
Yes.
We think it's hungry, so we just eat straight away.
I know about a water diet because there is more this kind of diets that being introduced is all over everywhere, like infused lemon water, and people will say soak lemon, garlic, lots of herbs, herbal remedies in this water, leave it overnight, and then drink it first thing in the morning, and then you can go without food all day because it's got this all in these ingredients to sustain you, and because you're not eating that much but still gaining all these vital calories and all that, then it helps lose weight. That's the general perception. That's why I asked about this water diet. Getting that leads me to that drinking infused lemon water and all that. Is that a good substitute to natural water? Because I've been seeing a lot of these things these days. Make sure there's something in there to, especially lemon. Please try and add a bit of lemon to your water and all that. Is that a good thing? Is that a good substitute for natural water?
Again, it's a twofold answer in that we all know the benefits of natural water, but within our mouths we have what's called taste buds, and our taste buds like to have a variety of tastes within. So although natural water on its own is healthy, it's good for us, purely drinking waters 7 days a week, 365 days of the year, you'd soon become probably fed up of water. So there are various ways in which we
Wipes kill 99.9% of bacteria and viruses. Dettol.
my apologies for that. Sorry. There are various ways in which we can enhance the water taste and make it also health beneficial.
Right.
Yeah, just to add to that as well, where the lemons come into it. Lemons have got acid in them. In your body, the part of your body that needs acid is your stomach, and that's to help with the breakdown of the food, the digestive liquids, what you need. And so if you add a lemon to your first drink in the morning, it's helping you, getting your body ready actually for the digestive thing that it's going to be doing. So lemon is good for in the water, definitely. But,
So
yeah.
So there's this general perception: drink at least 8 glasses of water or 3 liters of water per day. Is that a rule, or do you only have to drink water when you feel thirsty? Because coming back to drinking too much or not having enough, Vonga said one of the symptoms that you will need to know that your body is going to dehydration is that you will feel thirsty. Okay, so do you just drink water when you feel thirsty, or there's a golden rule that have at least 8 glasses of water, because obviously the body is made up of 60% water. So if you are sweating and then burning calories, that means that you are losing water. So is there a general rule to drink 8 glasses of water as an adult a day? 3 liters, I think it equates to. Is that a general, or do you only have to drink water when you feel thirsty?
I think I would say with that is, I think, without patronizing anybody, I think if I woke up and I drank 8 glasses of water in the first thing in the morning, I'm pretty sure by 4 o'clock I'll be dehydrated, because all of that water is just going to go straight through me. It's about, drinking consistently throughout the day, because I guess, if you can think about your body, you're using water. It's like fuel. There's no point saying, oh, I'm going to fill up my tank with, 3, double what it needs, so that I never have to fuel again. That's not it. You need it to sustain you throughout the day. And I think the general idea is to be drinking consistently and regularly throughout the day. And maybe I should have qualified it when I spoke about signs of dehydration. By the time you're showing those signs, your body's in, disarray already. Because by the time you're experiencing headaches, it's gone beyond where it should have. You should have had it already. So what I would say is, in terms of and the general rule, 8 glasses. Some people have glasses that big. Some people have glasses that big. It's not a measure. I think we have to apply a bit of common sense and say, actually, and if you think about humans, we're different sizes. So I wouldn't expect a 7-foot man to be drinking the same as, a child who's 3 years old. But I think the general idea is to be drinking regularly throughout the day. I know, the general recommendation is 2 to 3 liters, but it's just, it's just putting a figure on something. I think you can apply common sense and be drinking regularly throughout the day as well.
What about our children?
But I think
yes,
also
sorry.
we need to recognize when the guidelines may be 8 glasses of water or 2 liters. As we touched on last week, we said there is water in many things. So it's a case of making sure you are consistently rehydrating yourself. You are taking on board fluids, and that may be in natural water on its own, or it may be water mixed with something else, or it could also be fruit, because fruit has got a lot of water in it. So there are many things that we consume that contains water, so we may not drink 8 glasses of natural water from the tap, but we might have some fruit juice, we may have a apple, some melon, and various other things during the day that put together would constitute our recommended water
Do you
intake.
have something to
Yeah,
say,
I was going
Dave?
to just
Yes.
say to add to that as well is that we've been experiencing some good weather lately in England. It's been hotter, and so, like Vanga said, common sense tells you we've been sweating more. For example, your body's using more water because of the heat that we've been having. So you need to replace it, and especially our brains. We need to definitely replace that water.
Right. So Pastor made a very important point there, that other foods and stuff like that, like fruits and stuff like that, have water in them. I believe most foods got water in them. What are some of the fruits that you recommend? Not necessarily as a substitute to water, but then I don't normally tend to advise people to drink these juices, because it's got a high concentrate of sugar in them and all that. But natural fruits are a good substitute for things like that. So what are some of these fruits that Pastor you talk about? Because you just said fruit. What are some of them?
I think, like Pastor made a good point, and it's all food contains water essentially. When you cook, if you make soup, you put water in it. That's water. It's liquid, isn't it, in your body? And when we speak about, it's not to say you can eat certain foods you've replaced, or you've cooked rice with water, therefore I've had my 2 cups of water. That's not it. But I think the general thing is, the recommendation says 2 liters of water, but that's taking into account that some of that water is being, you're consuming it through eating foods. Examples would be, like Pastor said, fruits. I know melons have a high water content. Cucumbers have a very high, you eat a cucumber, you just basically had water, haven't you? So fruits and vegetables like that, tomatoes, those are very watery type fruits and vegetables. But I wouldn't have 4 tomatoes and think, there you go, I'm hydrated. But the idea is actually all these foods are contributing to the intake that you.
So in the morning, I like grapes, full of water, and you're not going to take 1 grape, you take a handful. So oranges, full of good water, juices. So we consume, as I said, there's many fruits that we consume and vegetables in the morning, and we have a drink, whether it's a cup of tea, a chocolate, or whatever it is. We're consistently consuming water from the beginning in the morning.
Yeah, I was just going to say for kids as well, instead of giving your kids, say, 2 litres, you've got to have 2 litres of water. I mean, kids love watermelon, and that's an interesting and exciting way as well of letting them get their water. and they don't even know, you know.
Watermelons.
Yeah,
Okay.
watermelons are brilliant.
I might start trading watermelons because I think it's got a good commercial coming from you, Dave. Yeah. So,
If you've got time in the morning,
Yeah.
I know I don't, but if you have time, growing up, you get your coconuts, break your coconut.
Oh,
What better water than coconut water?
coconut water.
Good for the hydration.
Okay, watermelon, coconut water, cucumber.
Yeah, I think when
tomato.
I think when we're speaking about it, just remember that there's certain foods that have high water content, but then there's also foods that we consume that are diuretics. That basically, when you consume it, it makes you release more water. So, for example, your caffeine. So you drink water. You drink 1 cup of tea. You're not going to urinate the same amount. It'll be more than you've consumed because that's what it is. It's you're prone to be dehydrated. I don't want to touch on this, but alcohol again is a diuretic. So people get dehydrated when they've been consuming alcohol because it washes out the water in you. So caffeine does that. So I know people that drink, if it's coffee, if it's teas that have caffeine, if it's your Cokes, they've got high caffeine content, and some people take medication that has caffeine in it. And also recently what I'm learning is these energy drinks that people consume have caffeine in them. Again, they're diuretics, so you're drinking it thinking, okay, I've drunk this drink, but essentially it's taking out water that you
do you know the ratio for what it is? It's like if it's one cup of coffee, is it something like you got to drink 5 glasses of water?
It is quite a lot to replace that
yeah,
because
yeah.
it does do that. And I'll tell you, when I was one indicator, for example, is your kidney. Kidneys need water because they do all the the cleaning part of your body. If you're not drinking enough water, and then you're going ahead to have your caffeine, you're literally assaulting your kidneys and leaving them in dire straits. So that's something point I'd say actually.
So first thing in the morning, I believe you have to have some water before you even think of having a coffee or things like that. That's a new thing to me.
Absolutely.
I didn't know about that. So thank you very much for that. And I believe our listeners, if you're still listening, if you've just joined us, we are talking about water and the importance of water to the body. Pastors here, Vongai, Dave is here as well. We are open to your questions and any contributions. You can call us on 01952291391 or on our WhatsApp page 074-389-38592 or comment on our Facebook page, Kasapa Radio, search for it, share it with your friends and colleagues. We are talking about water. Bring your questions, bring your contribution. We are all learning and we will benefit together. Fruit juices. It's something that bothers my mind so much. Do you recommend it, or are there any substitutes to fruit juices? Because obviously our children like to have things that, even with their medication and stuff like that, they kind of sweeten it a bit just to encourage them to take it. I believe that is the whole essence of when you go to the kids aisle in supermarkets, all their juices, you don't even see water. They're all like juices. Do you I believe there could be natural substitutes to these things that our children will still like and have the same effect, even better than our fruit juices. What are some of these things that our children can have? I believe you've mentioned Pastor made mention of watermelons. We talked about, but sometimes if you are handing sometimes our kids shy away from these vegetables as well. What else can we blend them together? What are the combination of the blending of things that could make it liquidize our food and then make them have the water as well as enjoying it as well?
There's a couple of differences that we need to clarify. Is when we go into the supermarket, what we see is fruit juices, which will either say from concentrates or concentrated or natural.
Right.
or we have what's called cordial juices, like your ribenas, your Vimtos, your orange squashes, where you actually add water to it in order to make it a palatable drink.
Okay.
So if we're talking about fruit juices, there are concentrated and unconcentrated, and it's to do with the packaging, how they get it from the processing plant to the store, basically. And what they tend to do is they remove all the water from the fruit juice, the natural fruit juice, so that they can package it in order to transport it easier. And then they re-add the water that they've taken out back to it.
Say that again, Kim. Say that again. Yes.
If you can imagine, they've picked a lot of oranges, and to transport all of that to the processing facilities and to move it around, it takes a lot of space. So as part of the process, they remove the water content from it and make it into a very thick, like concentrated form, which means they can transport that juice then easily and better to the manufacturing facility. When it gets there, they then reconstitute it by adding back the water to it. So that's what's meant by concentrated juice.
Right.
And you'll see it on the label of some not concentrated, which means that it hasn't gone through that process. It's just basically the fruit has come in, they have pressed it straight into the carton, and you're getting the natural product.
Okay, so which one is the better one? Which one? Obviously, we wouldn't try to downgrade any, because it would have gone through the process, and it would have, any of them serves a purpose.
Yes.
But for the benefit of our listeners, what we're talking about, water. Does that mean that the concentrate juices haven't got natural waters, the natural water a fruit possesses?
Well, basically, it's purely removed and added back in order for transportation purposes and manufacturing purposes. But like anything in life, it's always best to try and get it as natural as possible. So I can only speak for myself. I would always try, where possible, to get not from concentrate, because that is just the natural product, squeezed, juiced, and it hasn't been
tampered with.
Yeah,
Because we just
haven't
think
gone
of
through a
yeah,
process.
and if you think about it, if you're getting stuff from, say, another country, for a Caribbean country,
Yes.
and then they take the water out of it, and then they bring it over here and add European water to it. It's not going to be as good as if you would have had the original. Yeah, the original.
Right.
I think I just want to touch on something. Daniel, you said something quite interesting, that how can we make drinks that our children drink more palatable? And I just thought to myself, actually, I think as parents, in terms we shoot ourselves in the foot, because I think you need to teach your children. You need to cultivate a healthy palate for your child. So you can't go from feeding them fizzy and whatnot, and then say, how can I make them not like this anymore? I think sugar is is very addictive. So however way you consume sugar, it's very addictive. So the more the more you have, the more you want. And I would say, if you reduce the sugar levels that you have all around, I think you'll have less difficulty getting a child to drink sugary drinks. Certainly, I know I used to really like fizzy drinks. I don't drink. I would honestly say I don't think I've drank fizzy drinks for the past 4 years, and it was a difficult thing to break.
Transition,
But
yeah.
once you do it, honestly, now when you maybe go out and someone offers you a soft drink, and I say, okay, it's fine. I honestly will struggle even to have half. One, it burns my throat. Two, the sugar. It honestly, it shocks me. But what you need to do is get yourself to a point where you're not consuming that much sugar. That even when you do have it, it becomes unpalatable within itself.
That's a very good point, because you find parents of their children like sweets, chocolate, and then expect them to have non-fizzy drinks, or
They wanna enjoy it.
want to
They wanna
introduce
enjoy
them
it,
to
yeah.
just
They wanna
water.
enjoy it, yeah.
It's very difficult. So just like you said, cultivate the habit through every food, not just water.
Not just water,
Yes,
yeah. And I think I'm not
let them-
saying parents should be, like Willy Wonka's father, and refuse them to have any, chocolates from time to time. I understand children will go to parties, and what you don't want now is for your children to, when they go to their friend's house and they see that, and they just become, because they never experience it. But I think children are sponges, and if you mold them in such a way that they genuinely enjoy and appreciate healthier options, that even when they're faced with the option to have the unhealthier option, they're more likely to choose that. It's about balance. I'm not saying children should never have anything at all, but I think teaching your children quite early on that actually it's not ideal. I mean, I've seen parents giving children Coke, 3 years, and I had a woman once, I was on a train, I honestly thought, this child had maybe 4 or 5 teeth that were decayed. You can think about decay. And mom was, giving, is it Dr. Pepper, the fizzy pop, and I think the child was 3. I was thinking, honestly, at 3, and that's a value judgment. I'm not saying it was right or wrong, but I think we need to be responsible with what we give our children.
Dave, did you want to say?
Yeah, I was going to
anything
say,
it?
you
Yes.
mentioned something about blending up fruits together and stuff, but you can make things interesting for them as well. If you've got, say, grapes, oranges, strawberries, things that they like anyway, and then you get a blender, say, for example, and then just, look what this looks like if it's blended together, and then give it them to drink. My nieces, they came round once, and I was making loads of different juices, and they just loved it. Yeah, I was making them for a medical thing, and then they ended up almost drinking it off because it was that nice.
What I want to be clear, panelists, not normal clear water and all these other things we're saying that contains water. I just want to be clear. It's having these as substitute to water enough, or do we have to have a balance to say, look, I've had, say, 4 glasses of water today, let me have these with other ingredients that will support other things? Or I don't even know how to pose the question, but it's sometimes people just use an excuse, use it as good as excuse not to drink water. Can we be clear as to the differences and where we draw the line and how we marry the two together?
Yeah, I'd say, for example, if we looked at last week what the cell does, and it's a complex thing, what God has made, and it needs. I mean, for example, if you were gonna wash something that needs to be clean, would you use clean water or dirty water? You'd use clean water. So in the same way, our cells need cleaning. What were you going to use as clear a water as you can? You wouldn't use orange juice to wash something, would you?
No.
Although orange juice is nice, but in terms of our cells need that washing. But also, I would say that if you can get up to the 2 litres a day, and then have the type of juice the pastor was talking about as well, because they've got good vitamin C's in them as well. They've got good things in them, and the body will be easier to receive them if the cells are good and healthy. But if the cells are already kind of smashed up, then the good things that you're eating aren't even getting into the cells.
But I think to come back to your question, it's part of the issue we have in society is that we all know, I'm making an assumption, everybody knows the health benefits of water. We all know that. However, what we see is trends in society. So if you look at the last, let's say, 5 years, it's become trendy to be, whether it be going to the gym and you have your bottle with lemons in it. It's become trendy to have your isotonic water drink. And so there is an element in society who will drink water a lot because they genuinely understand the natural health benefits of drinking plain water. But there are some who will go through the fad to see this is the new thing.
Yeah.
So for example, there's a bottle of water out that's called, if I can mention it, Smart Water. And then many people bought it because the label said Smart Water. However, it was still just water.
Okay.
So as a society, sometimes we are led by what we see around us, i.e. through advertising, through the media. But the crux of it is that we understand the natural benefits of water, but sometimes it's easier to just go for the things that excite the taste bud, and that tends to be the sweeter items, like your Coca-Cola or your sweet cordials. So it's like your Lucasades. We will go for it because it's sweet, it's nice, and yes, we feel short-term revitalized, but the long-term benefit, we have to go back to having natural water where possible.
Okay. Well, you were itching to add something to
No,
it?
no, actually, I was agreeing.
That's fine.
Strongly.
That's fine. We've only got 10 more minutes. It's unbelievable. But I would like us to touch on two things before we go. Hot water and iced water. Okay.
Yeah.
But before that, I'd like us to bring ourselves back to last week's discussion about bottled water. Somebody asked me, so I thought I'll bring it to yourself without not just getting one perception, because it's good to have different mindset to and a question. Somebody asked me, sometimes people will buy bottled water, maybe the bigger liters, to encourage them to drink more, okay, rather than buying the small ones, because they have a target. Say I'm drinking, say, 2 liters of water, so I'll buy the bigger 1 liter bowl, so my target is to have 2 finish by the end of the day. I've finished up 2. That serves as a booster. When they see physically that they're able to relate to. But then you open it, bring it out of the fridge, you drink it. Sometimes you probably leave it out of the fridge for an hour or 2. Maybe realize, oh, put it back in the fridge, take it back. Bottled water has got a lot of additives that makes it what it is. Okay, is it advisable? Does it lose its strength per se when it's taken out of the fridge, put it back, re-refrigerated, and taken out, put it back? Does it lose any strength in it? Somebody asked me this question, so I thought I'll ask you guys if you have any idea.
I would say that the water itself doesn't lose any of its mineral content, but how it affects the body changes. So if you take out of the fridge a cold bottle of water and you take the first few sips of that, because of the nature of the temperature, it immediately will have an impact on the body. So the water itself hasn't changed. If you take that same water and, let's say, leave it out on the side so it warms up to room temperature, and then you drink the same water, how that impacts your body is different. So it's the effect that it has on the body, not necessarily that the water is changing unless you boil that water. That's the only time I believe the chemical content would change, because you're boiling out all the minerals out of it.
Right. So what's the advice there then? Would it be advisable if it's going to be in the fridge, it stays in the fridge all day till you consume it, or if it's going to be on a room temperature, it stays room temperature for the duration of where you're going to consume it? Is that the advice?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say room temperature. Our bodies are room temperature. It would be easier for our bodies to get what it needs at that temperature, instead of getting it, because it does get a bit of a shock really when you're. I mean, next week when we talk about some more things about water, it's amazing what hot and cold water actually does. So it does have an effect on.
I was going to touch it briefly.
Yeah.
Hot and cold water.
Yeah.
So yes, maybe you can reserve your.
I will. Yeah.
Yes.
I will. But definitely, I would say leave it at room temperature.
Leave it at room temperature. Bongai?
No, in terms of the hot and cold, I've got no comment. But I think you spoke about bottled water having things to it. I think it's the purification, that process, that's quite different from the tap water. Certainly, people speak about. I'm originally from Zimbabwe. People always comment, if you've lived abroad, that the first thing you notice about English water is how hard it is. I know. Back in Zimbabwe where I'm from, if you take a bath with a bar of soap, the water will get soapy because it's a lot softer. Whereas here, the water is really hard. That's gonna do nothing, and that's why you see people bath with bubble bath or shower gel just to soften it a bit more. And that's the same thing in terms of what you drink. What you drink normally in the tap water is sometimes quite hard, compared to your bottled water, which is a lot softer. And people sometimes prefer bottled water. I mean, I currently I'm an advocate for bottled water only because sometimes I see, I don't know if it's Telford, but sometimes in Telford the water's coming out grey, and you're seeing that they've put what they call purifier, whatever they do to purify the water, but how pure was something that looks grey? That is not good.
No, it's the comment.
Yes.
But
well, if you think Telford's water is scary, then you wish you were here last week to listen to Pastor about how Londoners their source of water, and yes, but that's another.
And if there's any Londoners listening, feel free to share your own views.
Yes,
Yeah.
but we've got 5 more minutes.
I would say just very quickly.
Yes.
If you look at, Dave touched on it earlier, we've had some very hot weather of late. Now, there's nothing more refreshing than a nice cold drink. Whether it's you go to the fridge, take out a bottle of water or tap water, you want it cooler because your body's hot, so you want to cool down. Likewise, if the weather in winter is cold, so we naturally want a hot drink because it reacts with the body. So we are consistently making choices as to what suits our own personal circumstances. So there isn't naturally to say cold is the best, hot's the best. Room temperature, I would say, is probably the right temperature. But
yeah, it's like everything. It's like if room temperature is best, but you all know that a nice cold drink of water, even fizzy water, or sometimes if I really just want to feel them bubbles on your it is nice, cold as well, really cold and refreshing on the taste buds. But I know for myself, in the long run, it's got
Pellegrino, that's right.
I know in the long run it is best to have it at room temperature. Just distilled.
You're right.
Them bubbles.
That leads me to the different temperatures of water, hot water and cold water. Obviously, Pastor touched on the fact that people prefer hot drinks during the winter periods because it's convenient. That's the first thing they think about. But what are the dangers in drinking hot water or hot drinks? Because I know sometimes we leave water that comes from our tap. Our tap, the more hotter it is, the more lead it's got. We boiling our waters in kettles. It's reacting to the kettle, and it's obviously adding a lot of things. What are the dangers in drinking hot water?
So
Let's
to
touch
add
about hot
as well.
water. Yes.
Is it just hot water or hot food? Because I know people that you'll serve food
Yeah.
from the pot and they'll still put it in the microwave and they say I want my food piping
Yes.
hot and they
Yes.
want to eat.
Steam
They want
it.
it steaming.
I think we will limit ourselves to water,
Water, okay.
because then we'll be
Yeah.
talking about a lot of things. Yes, I would like to. What are some of the things that we would like to, we should discourage or encourage
What are you
people?
going to hurt yourself for? If you,
Yes.
if you boil a kettle and drink, I mean, I know this woman, she's passed away now, but by the time she's finished her drink, the cup is still hot. It's still hot. And I just don't know how she did it. Because it's burning, it's literally burning your mouth, so you don't want to burn your mouth. So that's just one simple
Yeah,
thing.
it will scald you basically.
The easiest question to say to yourself, if you can imagine, our body is at one set temperature. That's our bodies are regulated, and then you immediately give the body a massive shock by taking a sip of something that's been boiled. Your body has to fight
That's right, yeah.
to cool that hot liquid. So straight away, the minute you take that sip of that boiling hot, whether it be tea, coffee, whatever it is, your body immediately has to start working hard overtime. Thank you. Yeah, in order to bring the body's temperature back to the norm.
Do you know what's scary? I was just thinking when you were saying that. You know, sometimes when you're carrying a hot cup of tea and you're scared it's going to burn you
Yes.
And then you drink.
and you drink it, but then, I remember once, I was taking my hot drink to my desk and, it spilled on me and I was like, ah! But the interesting thing is, I drank that cup of tea. I didn't wait for it to. I just drank it. So I don't know what's different. Because that same hot cup, I wouldn't have been happy if someone poured it on my hand. That would have been so painful. But imagine, I'm actually putting it internal.
So
funny.
is there a recommendation then that our hot drinks should be equal to our body temperature?
I don't think
Because
it doesn't sound right. That
No.
I honestly, just the logic of it, it's something that you cannot put in your hand because it will burn you. But you've managed to drink it inside instead.
yes, because I believe when
just the logic
you will feel how hot it is if it is more than your body temperature. The moment it exceeds your body temperature, that's when you start feeling the heat.
Yeah.
That's why I asked that question.
It's a danger.
What does it do in our internal body if we drink something higher, hotter than our body temperature?
I would answer it like this. If you've ever taken a sip of a hot drink and you just put it in your mouth, take a sip, and within seconds you've lost all senses in your mouth because it's literally burnt your tongue. You haven't even
Cooking
swallowed.
your tongue.
That's right.
You're cooking yourself.
So literally all senses of reality has gone out of your mouth, and to prove all senses have gone, you don't leave it, you still come back and try to take some more.
Because what you do is that you adjust where it touches. So if it touches your tongue, it burns you. So what you aim for is for it to go straight to the back of your throat.
Yeah.
So then it's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
If your tongue could not bear the heat,
Imagine your esophagus and all that.
and we like it because we smile when we're doing it, we're happy and we're...
Yeah, but the thing is, the school of thought behind it is that once you are cold and it's actually revives you. Is that true?
I think what it does is, the simple answer is yes, it does, because when you take, when you're going back to our body is regulated and we have a set temperature, you consume something that's very hot, the body automatically reacts. It starts working, and by working, it's getting the blood is pumping, the heart is beating, and so you naturally start feeling the effects. So that is the revitalization you're experiencing. Is the
Whether it's a positive
body
or negative,
trying
yeah.
to regulate the temperature.
The body in trauma.
Yeah,
Yes.
the other thing I'll add to that is also when there's something wrong, pain is the indicator.
Yes.
You know, and if it's wrong, your body will tell you. You know, and that's why we have pain.
Yeah.
And that's the perfect thing is if you drink too hot of a drink, then you're going to feel pain.
Okay. Because of time, let's quickly shift the focus from hot to cold. Iced water. Iced water. First thing we think, oh, I'll freeze this water, make it icy, put it in my drink to make taste to. Is that a good thing as well?
Me personally, if I ever drink, I never have ice in it. I never do. I used to work at a place where they make ice making machines, and some things I've seen, I think, no, I'm not drinking. I'm not drinking that. But I just don't. I not only don't have it only because if I'm having orange or whatever it is, I like to taste orange. I don't like it to be watered down. But that's the only reason I don't have it. So I can enjoy the orange taste instead of it being watered down.
Yeah, because there's another school of thought that says that when you drink a lot very cold water, it helps burn calories easily because the body produces a lot of calories to be able to suppress or to deal with that, and in terms of that, it burns a lot of calories. Would you subscribe to that?
It's a similar process as hot drinks. It's that the body is just doing the opposite
Over time.
So the body, if
Using
hot
a lot of
drink is
calories.
trying to bring the temperature down, when you consume something ice cold, the body is fighting and working to bring the temperature back up. So there is whether or not you can lose weight over it, I don't know, but I think it's the body's way of counteracting a sudden change in temperature, and its natural reaction is to regulate the normality of a body temperature. That's what's happening. So that means the heart rate will beat faster, the blood will be pumping faster, oxygen is being generated, so the whole body is going through transformation by putting something freezing cold in it straight away.
Is that why athletes tend to go for cold water? Because they've overworked the body. The body is like getting hotter, so they need something so that the body goes into
So like a cold
a trauma
Okay,
thing. Yeah, like a
we're
cold
gonna
bath.
talk about that next week. But
Yes.
it is a healing thing.
Right.
You know, I think we will touch on it next week as well. That cold water is good
Okay.
for that reason. Yeah.
Right. So it's not good internally, but externally, is that something you?
It does. You do feel okay, but if you want to just cool down a bit, I suppose. If it was too hot, if you was in the desert, I mean, if I was in the desert, and then there's someone offered me, as it were, room temperature drink, I'll probably say no. I'll probably want the cold water. So it depends where you are. And
I think there's also one thing to very quickly add is there's something what's called brain freeze. So if you were to consume, let's say, a pint of or a litre of ice cold water very quickly, then you feel the effects in your head. You feel something happening because the cold is causing a shock to the body, and the body's trying to warm itself back up.
that's
Yeah.
good stuff.
Okay. It's 5 minutes past 7, so we're just gonna round up. But I would like everyone to have one last word. Bongai, I would like you to speak on behalf of women and mothers. why water is so important. Just 2 minutes. Pastor, then after that, I'd like you to touch what was going through God's mind. Why did God make water so important? From creation, he thought about water. So think godly here,
Okay.
and then I would like you to say something to encourage people that want to be healthy, adults and everything. So if anyone will want to go first, just a minute each or two. Just
I'll keep it very short and brief because it is after 7. I won't speak just for women. I think generally, you know, we all need to be drinking more water. It's healthier for us. We'll feel better, and I think we'll feel refreshed, particularly in this hot weather. So I think, yeah, stay hydrated, everyone.
yeah,
That's all I
and
have to
women,
say.
mothers,
Same message.
yeah, to the
Same
children.
message. Exactly the same message to the children as well.
All right. Pastor, what was going through God's mind when he made water a very important aspect of his creation?
Fortunately, I can't comment on what was going through God's mind,
Yeah.
because God is the creator and he knows all things. So what I believe is that when he created this universe and each and every one of us as mankind, he knew what was best for all of us,
Yes.
because we were created perfect, and God would understood the cleansing effect of water, whether internally and externally.
Right. Thank you very much. Dave, people that want to take on physical activities, want to stay healthy, how would you recommend water as a very important aspect of that trend?
I'd say water is a vital thing, not just an option. It's vital because we're made up of our brains, for example, are 80% water, 85% water, and our bodies from the head, shoulders down, they're 75% water. So if we're made up of that much water, then, like as Pastor said, God knows what he's doing when he made us. So that's why I would say drink more water, as pure as you can, because that's what you're made from.
Thank you very much. And on that note, listeners, we come to the end of today's health talk. I believe you have been very much educated. As you normally do, sometimes people post questions after the show. So if anything comes through your mind, even outside this hour, still feel free to post your question to us on our Facebook page, and next week we'll do our best, or we can pass it on to our panelists to give us a feedback, and we will feed back to yourself as well. Thank you very much for listening. Catch us once again next week, same time, same place, and thank you very much, Pastor Dave and Bongai, for coming to join us. We believe this won't be the last time. Next week, if you're available, join us as well, and we'll be talking on different aspects of our health as well. So on this note, I'd like to leave you, listeners. Have a great evening, enjoy, and make sure your health is your absolute priority all the time. Goodbye and God bless. Thank you.
Could you tell how many people was listening?
It's Eddie knows how to search that.
With a lot of it, right?
Yeah, he wants to know how many people are listening.
Worries. Ooh,